Can India become the next China? This question has risen to prominence as India's international profile continues to increase, stimulating more discussions around the world. There's a hope among many that India could replicate China's rapid development and inject new vitality into the currently sluggish global economy. However, few are aware that despite India's seemingly remarkable similarities to China, the facade of prosperity cannot entirely conceal the underlying decay. Some assert that today's India parallels China during the Republic era a century ago, marked by four major fatal flaws. With aspirations to become the third-largest economy, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced an ambitious high-speed rail project shortly after coming to power in 2015 to overhaul the nation's outdated rail infrastructure. To advance the project swiftly, Modi's government did not hesitate to commit substantial funds to hire a Japanese team for its design and construction. Yet, unexpectedly, it wasn't until November 2021, 7 years after the plan's inception, that the project officially broke ground. Despite Indian media outlets lambasting the government and a collective outcry from the public, the railway had extended less than 10 kilometers 6 months later. Such snail-paced progress brought collective embarrassment to an ambitious Indian government and Japan's world-renowned high-speed rail. So, why did Japan's highly acclaimed bullet train unexpectedly fall short in India? The answer is simple. It's India, a highly federal nation. Although the central government sought to enforce reforms, not every state heeds these central commands. The construction of railways is a substantial and symbolic project that has become a political tool in elections for Japan and India. After the Indian Railway project was proposed, the Japanese team quickly delivered their design solutions. However, the corresponding land acquisition by the Indian government was incredibly slow. For example, in Maharashtra, until the commencement of the railway construction in September 2021, the government had only completed 30% of the required land acquisitions. The reason for this stagnation? India's internal strife. Under India's property acquisition system, the government would need the agreement of 80% of private landowners and 70% of the corporate landowner for the acquisition process. Compensations also had to exceed market prices, which is not conducive for governmental infrastructure projects, especially for lengthy endeavors like railroads stretching hundreds of kilometers, which would result in astronomical costs. Hence, following the high-speed rail project's announcement, Modi's government sought to amend the land acquisition guidelines, stating that for critical sectors such as defense, industry, and infrastructure, the consent of landowners could be bypassed and compensation could be market-based. While this might have appeared logical, it nevertheless came into conflict with the interests of India's vast landlord class. The landlords united in protest and forced the Modi government to succumb, leaving it to local governments to implement the amended policy, resulting in a laughable 7 years for 10 kilometers. To tear apart their own people on command or face legal action. The central government in India has not just faced opposition in this instance. The 2020 agricultural reform and earlier labor law changes prompted intense local opposition, forcing Modi to retract his plans. Corruption within the Indian government is also an open secret, mirroring the notorious scale seen during China's Republic era. The Republic of China might have achieved nominal unity, but in reality, regional warlords ruled autonomously, with corruption becoming a societal norm. Coincidentally, the similarities between modern India and the Republic era, China extend beyond just internal chaos and corruption. If internal strife and corruption hinder the Indian government's ability to handle major projects effectively, then rampant gender discrimination directly impacts society's operation of smaller-scale affairs. The case of a foreign female tourist raped in India drew global attention, revealing the deeply ingrained patriarchal thinking in Indian society. To use an unflattering comparison, if the victim was not a foreigner, such incidents might not even be newsworthy in India. The sentiment, as expressed by the infamous defense lawyer of the Delhi bus gang rape, is that if a woman walks freely on the streets, she is as good as asking for it. In her views, women should be submissive to men, confined to their homes, serving their husbands, not to be seen publicly. Underneath this logic, the systematic oppression of women in India is scarcely concealed. But are women truly just subordinates to men? Emphatically not. Just as a great figure once said half a century ago, women hold up half the sky. In modern society, women's roles are increasingly substantial, and their capabilities are demonstrably on par with men's. Therefore, any nation or society that ignores the power of women is like an airplane shutting down one of its engines. It simply cannot soar. And this, too, was the harsh reality during the Republic of China period. Today's India faces severe challenges, and both women and men endure hardships. For a man born in the slums, breaking free from the constraints of his social class is almost an impossible task. The civil service examination in India, for instance, sees millions of applicants each year, yet only a few thousand are accepted. It's important to note that these applicants are not mediocre by any means. Hundreds of thousands of them hold undergraduate degrees or higher. So the question arises, why is there such a fascination with becoming a government official? The simple answer is that in India, holding an official position is one of the few ways to achieve social mobility. Today, the gap between the rich and the poor in India is stark, mirroring the disparities of the Republic era in China. Society is split. On one side, there's opulence among the four major families, while on the other, there's widespread hunger and death. The caste system in India perpetuates inequality from birth, dictating what jobs individuals can hold based on their caste. This rigid class structure leaves little to no hope for the common people to improve their standing. This is why, despite the slim chances of success, countless individuals flock to the civil service exam. It represents the sole pathway to a better life. Despite the overwhelming odds, like crossing a narrow bridge amid a horde, simply taking the exam is a formidable task. According to the World Bank, only about 55% of Indian children under 10 can read and understand a simple story. And in international assessments, Indian children ranked last among 74 countries. This situation is exacerbated by the fact that about 1/4 of teachers in public schools are frequently absent, with the rate nearing 50% in some states. This leaves many students without proper instruction, inevitably affecting their academic performance. Unlike public schools, private institutions in India are highly regarded, with nearly half of the country's children attending private schools before 2020. These schools adhere to a strict hierarchy, where the quality of education is directly proportional to the fees paid. For wealthy families, the cost is negligible, but for poorer households, affording the best education for a child often requires the collective resources of the entire family. This demonstrates the difficulty of pursuing education in India. A country's large population is of little advantage if it consists of uneducated citizens, as this only results in a workforce that cannot contribute to national development or seize opportunities for progress. This was also true in China during the Republic era. Today, India faces these very challenges: internal turmoil, rampant corruption, severe gender discrimination, a vast wealth gap, entrenched class divisions, and a severely imbalanced education system. India has yet to address the fundamental issues that plagued the Republic era in China. Hence, it raises the question, how can India become the next China under these circumstances? The World Bank has even issued a warning to India on April 2nd this year, noting that despite having the fastest-growing economy in the world, the lack of sufficient employment opportunities means India is wasting its demographic dividend. Data from the Indian Economic Monitoring Center last year revealed an unemployment rate as high as 45.4%, with the female employment rate below 40%. This severe unemployment issue undoubtedly acts as a brake on India's development. Though the country continues to move forward, eventually, this growth will have to halt. And only then will we see the true extent of these challenges. Thank you all for watching. Please don't hesitate to like, subscribe, share, and support the Knowledge Nook.